All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Tuesday, December 13th, 2011. I'm going to go over the trades and the results from the live trading room this morning. Um, let's just start off with the results first. Okay. I took one live trade this morning that got filled. It was good for 2 points, 24 ticks, 3 contracts. At the same time, Dwayne took a trade. He actually took both trades. I only took one of the trades. But he took both trades. It was a YM trade that set up at the same time that Dwayne took 16 points on. You can see right over here, this is his DOM right here that I'm giving you a screenshot of from this morning. Dwayne took 16 points on that live in the trading room this morning, and I took 24 ticks or 2 points over here with 3 contracts on the ES. Alright, now, that said, let's just scroll back to where the trades were, and we'll go over. I'm trying to scroll back here, but that was the one trade that I took. But let's just go back a little farther so we can just go through the whole morning. Okay, it is a recap of the morning, not just the trades. Okay, so here we are at the open. The market opened up, and we were looking for a pullback here to the BBC. You see we had a fresh bubble. A bubble is when these red lines get outside the black lines. We are above the BBC. We put in a higher swing. We're looking for a pullback right here until we got this space. Once we got this space in here, then we had to take the order off until we got a higher swing. Once we got a higher swing, right here, a higher pivot, we put the order back on because we had not yet touched the BBC, so that bubble was still good down there. We had not yet touched the BBC, so we put the order back on. And once it got up here, we ended up taking it off because we didn't want to trade into the weekly trading zone. Right here, we could have entered it and it would have given us the two full points by 1 tick. It would have given 2 full points, but we didn't because in my plan it says do not trade into weekly trading zones, so I did not. The market moved around a little bit right here at the zone, but it never really penetrated the zone, and then it started to move off the zone. And when it started, it really moved. We were chasing this thing. Well, I don't want to use the word chasing. Chasing is the wrong word. We were following the BBC with our entry all the way down, waiting for a pullback, waiting and waiting. And it seemed like it took forever for that thing to pull back. Finally, it did pull back right over here after a 10-point move down. It pulled back, and it gave us our entry right here, and it didn't give us too much heat. I think we were down 2 or 3 ticks at one point. We had 2 points risk on it. We were looking for a 2-point profit target. We got our 2 points profit right here. That is what you see here on the DOM. And I'll show you the YM trade. At the same time, on all 3 time frames on the ES that we look at, the 2100 tick, the 10,000 contract, we were hitting the BBC in all time frames. So all time frames are looking like it was a good spot to short. Okay. And that was pretty much it. That was 10:52 to 11 o'clock. And after 11 o'clock, right down here it bottomed out. We had a little space right in here that prevented us from going short on this pullback right here. And it's good because it would have stopped us out had we done it. It was not a setup. So right here there was a George setup here. It was borderline George and regular CFRN setup. Would have been here at 35 we'll say. Looking for it to get up to 37. So there it was, 2 points right there. That was another setup right there that happened during the break. Alright, so there was 2 points that we took, 2 points that happened during the break. That was it, but we're only taking credit for the one that we took here, these 2 points. Okay. Let's see. I want to show you where it happened at the same time here. Let me scroll back over here a little bit on the DOM. Now you see right here it was 10:55, and right here it was 10:56, 10:55, 10:56. This is a 10,000 contract. This was the first pullback after a bearish cross. I won't scroll back to it, but I'll just show it to you over here. A bearish cross is when the MA1 crosses over the BBC. So we had that happen here. It crossed down, okay, under the BBC, and the first pullback was right here. And if we look at the 2100, I will show you that same spot right there. All 3 time frames, all pretty much in the same spot. We're given a short indication. So we took that short and we got 2 points out of it. Pretty easy 2 points, I might add. Now at the same time, we were going over in the room as this was setting up here, or as it was pulling back here. We had said, now where would you have put in a sell stop? And a bunch of the guys put in their areas that they would have put in a sell stop, and they were all pretty much right. You know, there were 3 different areas in here where we would have put in a sell stop, but at the time I was saying, okay, well, that's all good, and you're all correct in your own spots. One spot would have been up here, a sell stop down below here. Another would have been a sell stop down below here, and another would have been a sell stop down below here. After that, when it started to pull back up, I said, well, now where would you put a sell stop? And I just drew this line in at 1233 right here as it was pulling back up. I said I would put a sell stop in here. If it gets down there, it'll probably drop another couple of points. We had taken the trade over here and gotten out of the trade over here, so we had already gotten our couple of points. Our goal for the day was the 2 points, but it did drop through that level at 1233, so we would have entered short here at 1233, and it did drop 2 more points. I just want to point that out for anyone that missed, any of the partners that missed the live trading room this morning. We went over a little bit of that this morning, and I think I might have even recorded that this morning. Then we had a bullish cross here, and this is the first pullback, but we're not going to go long right into the resistance dots right here. Okay, that's another thing in my trading plan. And the cycle's not terribly in favor of a long trade here. It's looking like it's going to roll over. Alright, that was it for the ES. Now let me jump over here to the YM. Okay, at the same time that we took those trades on the ES, there was this pullback right here on the YM. So we were at the BBC on all the time frames on both of these markets. Okay, Dwayne took this trade here. That was the screenshot that I had showed you right here. This is Dwayne's DOM, if it pops up here. He took 16 ticks out of it. Anyway, it was there at the beginning of the recap. But we had the bearish cross. This was the first pullback to the BBC after the bearish cross. Dwayne took it and got 16 ticks out of it. It obviously went about 50 ticks, but he got 16 out of it. Since then, it had a bullish cross here, and this was the first pullback. Now, I would not have gone long into the weekly trading zone. I wouldn't have even done this one into the weekly trading zone. There's one trade setup that's happening right now where we have this bullish divergence, but you would have to see a close up above the MA1 within 7 ticks of the MA1, probably within 5 ticks of the MA1. The close, I would think of going long at that point, but right now I'm not really considering it. Now there was one other thing that we did, that we almost did anyway. I'll point it out in the live trading room this morning. I'll show you a trade we missed. Okay, this is the 6E. All right, for those of you who like to trade the 6E. Now, when the market was developing here, price was over here, and I was trying to say where I thought we would start to see divergence. So I drew these arrows out ahead when there were no lines there. I said I think we're probably going to start to see divergence once it gets here, and price may pull back to the BBC here, and that would be where you just start to look for the short. Well, the divergence started there, but price didn't pull back till over here. Now the deal is, when you get divergence, you start to get divergence anyway. The first pullback to the BBC, as long as BBC is on the proper side of the elbow, is usually good for a short, or good for a trade, good for a bounce. In this case, I put my order on here. Me and some of the partners put our orders on here at 131.76, and the thing came up to 131.75, and it didn't fill us at 76, and then it dropped 100 points, or pretty close to 100 points. Did it drop a full 100? Yeah, it dropped 100 points to the tick. It dropped 100 points from our entry. I'm sorry, not 100 points, 100 ticks from our entry, which would have been the equivalent of 25 ES points. And it did all that in less than an hour. It did that in a half an hour, 40 minutes, yeah, a little over half an hour. It did that. We had a second possible entry right here that we looked at, but we didn't take because we weren't sure how much leg it had left in it. And then finally, right as we were about to take a break, I had projected these areas here where the arrows are. This is where it actually touched. It didn't touch over here, but I projected the elbow break over here and for it to start doing divergence here. And I know Charles had traded this gone long here at 31, I think 3104, 3105, right in that area, and it drew down. It drew down to 3094. It drew down 11 ticks or so, but it ended up moving up to 3119. So it moved up 14, 15 ticks from entry, depending where the entry was, if you got your fill. Right now you can see it's starting to move down, and I mean I can draw these lines in here right now for you, but what I would expect to see is right about over here. I would expect to see some divergence, and when it starts to diverge, I would expect to see the BBC to be about here, and price to hit the BBC somewhere in that area, and be looking for a short. So, I mean, I'm just projecting that right now. You have to wait until it actually happens to see, but you see we're going right into a zone right here. And the zones usually hold. This is the zone the first time down. It bounced off it, and this will be the second bump right here, but we'll see. I mean, there'll be plenty of room, I think, probably to take the trade from the BBC down to the zone, but we'll see how it all develops. All right. Let's see. I think that is going to be it on the morning. I believe that. Let me just look at the 7-minute here quickly, because I think we had a pullback to the line in the sand, and we might have gone through the line in the sand a little bit. It's taken it a minute here to populate my window, because I am using up all the resources on my computer right now. Anyway, we did have a pullback to the line in the sand, and it did go through it a little bit, but usually you're going to get a bounce off that. There it is. It did go through it a little bit. You see the thick blue line right here is the line in the sand after the bullish cross. It pulled right back down to it, went through it a point, 2 points maybe, and I usually say you're going to get a 2-point bounce off it. You usually get a lot more than 2. In this case right here, we got about a 5-point bounce off so far. All right, but that could be all it's got left in it. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. All right, guys, that is it. If anybody has any questions about any of this stuff, you just type it right in here and I will answer it as quickly as I can.